It was the freaking wet lines. Remember Federer's match? He's complaining to the umpire about the lines. They're still wet after hosing down the clay court. When he slipped on the line, he said, I almost slipped on it. He almost slipped on it, had to catch himself a little. He tweaked the leg and the toes. Don't forget the toes. Tweaked the leg, and that is why Roger Federer was not playing when you woke up this morning. If you're in the United States, you probably woke up this morning saying, ooh, is the Federer match started yet? What's the score? Is it on? What? It's over. It's a W. Withdrawal. W. What does W mean? Withdrawal. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis Podcast. It's a podcast again. I know Omkar said hi. If you're like Omkar, you're probably saying like, another podcast? Why is he doing these freaking podcasts? Why not another video? Well, you might hear my voice does sound a lot better, but I am not 100%. And like Roger Federer, I'm not going to play the match if I'm not 100%. Okay, so today on Coffee Break Tennis, we'll talk about that incredible Del Potro Djokovic match. We'll talk about the Rafa Verdasco match. We'll credit Shorty D for coming through Nishikori, excuse me. I almost said his name wrong. We'll credit Shorty D for that one, but we'll mostly talk about Djokovic's win over Delpo. That was the match of the day. That was one of the clay court matches of the year. One of Djokovic's best matches since Aussie Open. It looked like Del Potro was going to win, huh? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the other match. We'll talk about tomorrow. Matches are happening tomorrow. One, very exciting. Another thing we'll talk about is Rafa, in his press conference, a little surprise nugget, revealed that him and his team at the beginning of the season make a list of who they think will be in the top 10 by the end of the year. It's kind of interesting. Didn't know that. Didn't know Team Rafa was doing that. God, he's got enough people on his team. They might as well find some fun games like that to keep themselves occupied when they're not working on the Rafa game. And one thing he said, I don't think he said he guessed Tsitsipas would be top 10. No one on his team saw it, but he said, man, this guy sure does deserve it to be top 10. We'll take a look at exactly what Rafa said on that later. Word is weather tomorrow. Oh, man. Bad news for the tennis fans. Is it possible that we would get another rain out? I'm searching right now to get the most up-to-date weathers. What's going on with weather.com? It's not working. What the H? What the H, man? We'll have to do some other weather update. Anyways, the rumor is maybe no matches tomorrow? Lots of rain? Uh-oh. All right, what day is tomorrow? Saturday? Let's take a look at it. What's going to happen? Anyways, we'll take a look at that in a second. Forget about the freaking weather for now. We'll let you know in no time at all. Oh, wait. Matt, you're killing me. Chance of rain, 80% today, May 18th. Okay, so it's predicting in the future. Oh my God, that would suck. Tonight. I wish I could can you just give me the freaking hourly? Oh, think I got it. Rome, Italy, it's here. Sorry for that delay, folks. Let's just figure out if there will be a match tomorrow before we move on with the show. 8 a.m. is a 65% chance. Not looking good. And wow, okay, we could have another washout tomorrow. What a freaking nightmare. So from 5 a.m., the chance of rain 60%. All the way up to 9 a.m., it stays that high or higher, peaking at 75% at 7 a.m. At 9 a.m., the chance dips to 45. If you're a tennis player like me, you know that seeing 45% chance of rain before your match is not a good feeling. Now, that's light rain. They're not going to play through it because it's already going to be wet. But that gives it a chance, if it clears up, to be A-OK. But by 11 a.m., 70%. That stays until 2 p.m., 50%. And then from 2 p.m. up to about 6 p.m., it's 50 or 40 or 30. So, okay, we might get some matches very late, 5 p.m., 6 p.m. start time. Now, I will tell you, man, I had a Alta playoff. We have a league in Georgia called Alta, and the chance of rain, it looked like this. It was a lot like this. Everything was around 60, 70% all day long, and I thought, well, we're not playing tomorrow. And I was really good about, I'm not going to drink any alcoholic beverages at all this week. I want my muscles to be perfectly hydrated for the big match coming up. And I thought, you know what? I'll just have a little wine, just one glass of wine. I'm not even playing tomorrow. This match is going to get postponed to Sunday at the earliest. And then, I thought, well, screw it. We might not even play Sunday. I had a couple wines, and then sure enough, the next day, it didn't rain at all. There was no rain. There was a couple very light showers that were inconsequential. So you never know. So fingers crossed that we do get a match tomorrow, but we shall talk about that. First off, let's just take a look at the Federer stuff. I know some Raw fans, Djoker faces, 1% Murray fans out there. Not thrilled that I'm going to the Fed stuff first, but it's my show. We're going to do it that way. By the way, we're going to keep today very brief. Tried to keep it brief the other day. Let's see if it's even possible. The funny thing is, I don't know. I don't know how long this is going to go. You know, because it's already done and it's in the future from now. And you can look at the time and say, oh, he did keep it rather brief. All right. Oh, man. What a great day of tennis we had. All right, let me bring up this stuff that Federer said. Where the heck did I put it? Where did I put it? Oh, is this it? Boom. Who brought this to my attention? This was tweeted to me. It was originally a tweet from Ben. It was Lavanya Singer Dinesh. Tweets me a lot of good stuff on the Twitters. Follow me on the Twitters at CoffeeBreak, TENS, like the number 10. And she sent me the Ben Rothenbergler tweet. He just tweeted like a screenshot or a picture he took. I don't know. It's an image of the press release. After you go in the press conference, if you're lucky enough to be with a press pass at an ATP tournament, you get to talk to the players, you get to raise your hand. It's like being in school. It's a lot of fun. Some people say funny things. Sometimes the reporters giggle. Sometimes the players giggle. It's a great time in there. If you, after it's over, they print it all up. You get it on a sheet. Here's the excerpt. Question. From who? I don't know. We don't know that. What was the debate with the umpire about the court? You felt it was slippery or something. Roger Federer says, I don't quite understand how players just go with it. They water the court. They call time. Players kind of check the lines. They're like, okay, I guess we can play. The lines are wet. Wet lines means you slide. When I slid, I caught myself. It did hurt my toe. My big toe, he didn't say that, for like 5 games. My leg also hurting a little bit. I don't know, just don't understand. They don't make us play because Carlos told me, you don't have to play. I told him, why did you call time? You make us stand there, feel the pressure, 10,000 people, live audience. Not amused, Roger Federer, obviously. Not amused by that. He's got a good point. Roger's saying like, hey, if you don't tell the audience with the big microphone and your big chair, Mr. Umpire, that, hey, the players will now remain seated while lines dry, something like that. If you don't say that, then we got to go up there and stand there and look like jerk-offs. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? Jerkos. Let's say jerkos. That's better. We got to look like jerkos. This is a family show. I apologize for that. We got to look like jerkos for standing there refusing to play because of the line. And Federer points out, you feel the pressure of 10,000 people, live audience. You're just going to put the serve and play. The players will always cave at the end, says Roger Federer. And he's right. And then he goes on to say, it's been like this for years. They sure, it felt like maybe they were watering the courts a little more frequently because of so much play on that day with everyone playing 2 matches basically. And it's still early rounds, early enough to have a lot of matches. So maybe I'm wrong. I haven't paid attention to how frequently they water the courts on changeovers over the years when I watch tournaments. But it did seem like a little more, maybe. Maybe I'm crazy. So Roger said, it's been like this forever, and it's dangerous. I don't know why players play. they should just, the ball kids, and he was nice enough to say, look, I know it's kind of annoying, but if the ball kids just wipe the lines with a towel, we'll be good. It's really about safety. And Roger Federer's right. If you play it on a hard court, after rain, the court can be a little damp, but you'll be okay running around on it for the most part. But the lines, man, you hit a quick stop on the line, that foot can fly out from under you. And, you don't want that happening. I remember the court was dry, but there was like a leaf on the ground. This is a long time ago. This could have been 10 years ago. And there was a leaf, and under the leaf was moisture. There was still like wetness trapped under this one little leaf. Court totally dry. Anyways, I hit the leaf at full speed, and the leaf slides out from under me. And luckily, I didn't get a very serious injury, but I definitely tweaked something and didn't feel right for a week or so. And that was when I was in my early 20s. So let's hope Roger's leg tweak isn't too big of a deal. Oh, man, it just sucks. I know, a friend of mine said, man, Federer should have just skipped the damn clay. Why risk it? Because the way Federer's been playing this year, to me, he looks like he's got a real shot to win Wimbledon. I mean, he has for mostly his whole career. He's had a shot to win Wimbledon every time he shows up. But especially the last few years, I mean, he did win it in 2017. It felt like he could win it in 2018. The match with Kevin Anderson, maybe some nerves got to Roger. Was it moving from center court Wimbledon? I don't know. We're not even at the French Open yet, so I don't want to talk about Wimbledon too much. But I know some Fed heads out there will probably feel like me and think, damn. But a friend of mine said, hey, every time you go outside of your house, you risk getting injured. Federer played. He'll be fine. He'll play the French Open. It'll be okay. Get over it. I'm like, all right, good point. Good talk. Okay, so let's move on to first let's talk about Rafa a little. Rafa, almost down a double break to start that match. And the funny thing was, let me think. I think Rafa had a game point, and he serves his usual slider out wide, but Verdasco's a lefty, so it goes to Verdasco's forehand, and then Rafa gets lit up. I think this was to close him out in that game, I want to say. This would have been serving 1-2 or 0-2, would have been 3-0, whatever it was. It was going to be a double break if Rafa didn't hold this game, and he gets lit up. And like we've been talking about, and funny thing, I hope I don't forget about the Del Potro and Djokovic match with Djokovic forehand, my whole strategy. Djokovic lit up the freaking forehand. But still, I saw openings. We'll talk about that later. Back to Nadal. Gets lit up on the forehand, hitting his normal lefty slide. Visualize with me. You're in the ad court. You get a left-hand serve because you're Rafa. Imagine you're Rafa. You feel a tingling sensation behind your pants, and you better pull your pants up before you hit the serve. Or you better do your hair over your ears on both sides. And you better take a quick peek over at the water bottles and make sure they're in a nice, tidy little row. You're Rafa. You're in the ad court. You hit. I'm really enjoying these podcasts, describing things with my words, painting the picture like a Rembrandt. Picasso. It's really pronounced Picasso, like Pikachu. Pablo Picasso, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Comment below if you're an expert. You're Rafa. You hit that lefty slide. Ball's coming out of your left hand. It's curling to the right, away from a righty's backhand. But no, it's Fernando Verdasco, and he's freaking clubbing his forehand. I mean, he was ripping the backhand too. Verdasco, he had the right strategy, came out big, hit a lot of errors, had no choice, had to go for it, almost pulled it off. So he clobbers it. Rafa, going for his favorite serves, even though it's a lefty, starts targeting the backhand a little smarter, starts finding the backhand more frequently, and eventually goes back to his favorite serves, but hits the freaking line with the slide, and doesn't matter if you're a lefty with a big forehand. Rafa hits his slider from the ad court on the line, a little short in the court, sliding away. The swinger, he's going to win. Going to win like every time. Unless it's a really, I don't want to say lucky, but a special return that you don't see a whole lot. And, man, by the end of the match, Rafa got to do whatever he wanted because he gave a bagel. You saw the thumbnail. Bagels, anyone? I haven't made the thumbnail yet, but I know it's going to be something like that. Bagels for all? Question mark? Ooh, that's better. It's going to be bagels for all, I think. So, big question right now is, two big questions. Can Tsitsipas beat Nadal 2 weeks in a row tomorrow? And can Nadal give Tsitsipas a bagel. Nadal has played 6 sets, 3 matches, won them all in straight sets, and he's lost a total of 6 games. Holy shnikes. And he's given everyone a bagel. Like I said, Rafa on a rampage, man on a mission. I saw some people on Twitter saying that was a bad thing. Like, how dare you say Rafa's angry? I never think of Rafa as being angry. Look, I meant it as a compliment. Get over it, Rafa. Rafa's fired up. This is great. This is good. This makes the French Open more exciting because there's a question mark. In previous years, you think, okay, Rafa's going to win everything on clay. It's fun to watch. It's fun to admire the beauty of Rafa's clay court prowess, clay court dominance, sure. But when it's a big question mark, it gets a lot more exciting. Whether you want Rafa to win or not, things are a lot more exciting. Djokovic has now stepped up the game. Excitement. Del Potro is back. And how good was he? You know how hard... I don't want to sound like a crazy person here, but it reminds me of Roger Federer. When he came back in 2017, long break, knee injury recovery, right? And then he plays like he never left. In fact, he plays better than he had looked for a long time. And now I know Del Potro didn't win the Australian Open. And I know he lost. But let's credit Del Po. For a guy that had to stay very limited with his mobility and didn't go out and hit balls because he was trying to heal up a knee and quickly, a few months isn't very long in injury world. Feels like forever in tennis. Anyways. Oh, by the way, speaking of forever, man, people are angry about Kyrgios. I've heard people say Kyrgios should be banned from the ATP for 1 year. 1 year. We thought Casper Ruud boy was crazy saying half a year. Anyways, maybe they've got a point. Some people really feel strongly that Nick Kyrgios is a black eye on our great sport. But I think the overall effect is drawing more attention to tennis, maybe for the wrong reasons. I'm undecided. I do think it sometimes looks bad, but a lot of it is really bad. If I was playing against Kyrgios and he was doing some of that stuff, I'd be really upset. I'd want to beat him bad. I don't know if I'd recommend he gets banned for a year or 6 months, but I would want to stick it to him in the match. That's for sure. And I would, I don't know. Easy to say what I would do, isn't it, for all of us? Anyways, back to Rafa. I lost my place talking about, how did I link those things together? Gosh darn it. I don't know. Anyways, the point was, will Rafa give Tsitsipas a big bagel tomorrow? I don't know. What a mystery. I feel like Tsitsipas will be able to bring, okay, so Verdasco was just going for it, gunning for it. I got some stats. We'll tell you the stats in a moment. Verdasco was going for it big. Maybe Tsitsipas won't bring that kind of firepower and reckless abandon on every swing, but Tsitsipas will bring a good level that will last much longer than Verdasco's. He'll have a stronger nerve, and this could be a good match, but Rafa is playing better, and Rafa is feeling good. Rafa's taking this threat very seriously. He knows that Tsitsipas is not easy. He knows that Tsitsipas is probably one of the most quality opponents out there for him to face right now in this current tennis landscape. So comment below your guesses on tomorrow. We will talk about how polarizing Nick Kyrgios is. I have some comments there too. Let's see. I got a little checklist of things I wrote down while I was watching Djokovic play. One thing is we got to credit Djokovic. I'm watching Djokovic, and I'm thinking about how Federer evolved his game over the years to be better, to be more aggressive, to have more variety, perfecting the drop shot, perfecting the net game, and more importantly to me is perfecting the ability to sense when to move into the net and be sharper there, because that makes all the difference in the world. If you're a little late approaching to the net, it's terrible. It does not work out most of the time unless your opponent screws up. But when you sense the timing perfectly and you approach to the net, you will win more times than you will lose. And, Djokovic, let's look at the stats. I don't want to get ahead of myself and say he came to the net a lot, but when I see him come to the net, I just think, man, he looks really good doing it. When I see Djokovic hit some drop shots at key moments, down match point, that drop shot, the nerves from Djoker. Remember Federer hitting one of the coolest drop shots I've ever seen because it looked so obvious against Dominic Thiem, going back to Madrid quarterfinal. Was it the quarterfinal? Yeah. Dominic Thiem was running to cover his backhand corner in a rally with, I believe, match point in the tiebreaker for him, or was it a set point at that point? Yeah. The tiebreaker because Federer won the first set. So Dominic Thiem has a set point. I'm pretty sure I got this right. Doesn't matter. The point is, it was a very big point of consequence in a tiebreaker for Federer. So it was either a match point he saved or a set point that he saved in the second, trying to win that tiebreak. And he sets up like he's going to rip a cross-court backhand and hits this drop shot that almost like twists up Domi's ankles. It was astounding. And to do that, the nerve to do that in a tiebreaker down a set point, well, Djokovic just did the same thing. And we need to give credit. If you're like me and you've been a big Fed fan, and when Djokovic first burst on the scene, you didn't like him because you sensed him as a threat to Federer dominance. That's how I was. And now I try to appreciate the sport as a whole and all of the characters that come along with it. I will always have my Fed bias until Federer retires. I'll be slightly slanted towards Federer on some stuff. I won't deny it, but I try my best to do a good job on the show. I got to say, if you're like me, we've got to credit Djokovic because he's evolving his game. He's doing a lot of beautiful stuff. There was one beautiful little intentional chip-in dip, a low, short slice that brings Big Bois Delpo up to the net, bending his big body down low, and then a beautiful lob right on the line. You know, when Federer does this, we say genius. When Djokovic does it, we should probably credit him as well. So I just want to put that out there. Ted Robinson. NBC, are they the ones who had all the big matches for most of my life? You know, when you watch 2008 Wimbledon, greatest match ever, Rafa, Roger, wasn't that on NBC here in the States, I think? Well, Ted Robinson has been a part of a lot of these broadcasts for these great matches on, I believe it was NBC. So very cool to see him on Tennis Channel. Just want to put it out there. That's great that they have him on Tennis Channel. Would love to pick this guy's brain, just sit down and interview him and talk to him about all the stuff he's seen over the years, how he's seen the game change with, Roger taking over, Rafa stepping up, Djokovic becoming a factor. It's really an incredible thing that we've seen the last 10, 15 years. So would love to talk to that guy. And he said something great. He said, it's all in the eyes for Djoker. He says, you can tell when Djoker started getting his mojo back in Madrid, and here even, it's all in Djoker's eyes. Pardon me. Still getting over the ravages of this flu. Feeling a lot better, though. But, boy, I tell you what, tomorrow the band plays, and it's one of those special occasions. A lot of our band shows are at like a bar or a restaurant. Maybe there's 50 people there, maybe 100. Tomorrow we play one of these big festivals, like an all-day drinking thing that starts at like 1 p.m., and then they kick you out of there before you're too late to cause massive mayhem, 5 p.m.-ish. These beer festivals in Georgia, my band gets to play them every now and then, probably about once a year, and there could be 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people there tomorrow. And I got to sing for 3 hours. So let's hope the voice holds up. Anyways, back to Djokovic. You know what? Mr. Goat's here, and he wants to know if maybe I'll include some footage from the show. Well, if anyone takes some great footage from the big show tomorrow, maybe I'll pop it in one of the shows in the future. Anyways, back to Ted Robinson. He's right. The body language tells you so much with these guys in the big three. You can tell from Rafa, he looks a lot different in the body language than he has all season long, really. He looked pretty confident in the Aussie Open, but question marks for Rafa all year. This is the most comfortable Rafa's been in 2019. No doubt about it. He might not be at his very best, but he's getting closer and closer. If he can keep doing that, he should be able to handle Stefanos Tsitsipas, punk 20-year-old next-genner. By the way, I say that in jest. I say that with a jocular fondness and sense of warmth towards young Stefanos. Oh, Stefanos. Stefanos. Accent on the E. Don't forget for the Greek listeners. Stefanos. Stefanos. I don't know how to do the accent on the. Every time someone says that in the comments, I try to say it, and I think, that can't be right. Comment below. Am I saying it right? Stefanos. Warmth, love for the young man. Stefanos. Tsitsipas. All right. So that's what's up tomorrow. Oh, back to Djoker. My bad. The body language is so key. Rafa looks more confident we've seen him in a while. You can tell with Federer, even though he tries to stay pretty calm and cool, but you can see when things are really going. And Djoker tells a lot with his eyes. Ted Robinson, brilliant insight. What else do I have on my checklist? Why do we hate some people, and why do we not? Kyrgios is so polarizing. What was I thinking when I wrote that? Well, I was probably thinking about Djokovic, because I'm watching Djokovic. I'm thinking about, why don't people appreciate Djokovic more? If you think about Djokovic, he does a lot of stuff that Federer does. He can dictate play from the baseline off of both wings. Sometimes he serves astounding, right? Sometimes his serve he hits the spots. He doesn't have the most powerful serve, just like Roger Federer. He's just not as good of a spot server as Roger Federer. But sometimes we see him hit the targets on his serve, and he looks a lot like Roger Federer. Jumps on you right away. Right away. And so why do we hate him? Well, it's well chronicled. So, yeah, this is one of the things I wanted to talk about on today's show. Let me say a few more things about the match. You know what? I'm just going to say, screw the stats. I don't feel like going through the stats right now, because I want to talk about Kyrgios saying, Kyrgios jumped all over Djokovic. A lot of people don't like Djokovic. Even I have been not the most Joker-friendly for most of my life, but I've grown to appreciate Djokovic and what he does more and more, and I feel like everyone, and I think in fact, did Ben Rothenberg say something like this in the podcast with Nick Kyrgios? I think he may have, but this is my own theory that I've had for quite some time. Perhaps he stole it from me. I definitely did not steal it from him. I think there's a period where, let's see, there's one factor, though, that everyone might miss. There will be a period where Nadal and Federer are gone. Djokovic will be there. He will be, big three legend, the last of the big three. He'll be like the last dragon in Game of Thrones. They had 3, now only 1. Sorry, spoiler alert. Oh my God, I ruined it for someone. He'll be the last dragon. People will really want to see him then. The seats will fill up more frequently for Djoker, especially if you have exciting guys like Tsitsipas around, and Djokovic is hanging in there, pushing 40, just like Federer, right? We could see this happening. We hope it happens, because Djokovic is a great player, one of the greatest of all time. So we sure hope the guy is around for a long time. There is a period where maybe the crowds will strongly start to support Djoker, and he'll get the love. So I'll go back to the stuff about stats later. Let's do this now, because this is huge to me. So Kyrgios says, I think the guy just wants to be loved. It's a terrible Australian voice, Matt. I was doing it earlier today by myself, and it sounded funny. He says, Djokovic has a sick obsession with wanting to be loved. He just wishes he was Roger. And I don't think that's exactly it. We have to go back to the beginning of Djokovic. Djokovic, who may, because how about the way he weathered the storm with Del Potro and won that match? It was incredible. Give him credit. He could win the French Open. He may hold all 4 titles again. That's big time. Putting him 1 behind Rafa? What if he freaking beat Rafa in the final of the French? This would be earth-shattering in the tennis world. There's nothing like this. I know he beat him once, but it's not the final. Anyways, and it's not with them so close in the slam count. So my point is, go back in history. Djokovic burst onto the scene. People like him for the most part. He's exciting. People would still root for Federer over him, but people don't. There's not a contingency. Am I using that word properly? Mr. Goat, get the dictionary. Get the thesaurus. Thesaurus. Which source? Thesaurus. That's so lame. There was not yet a contingency of people that hate Nole. That works better for the Fabio fans. Maybe they'll sing that. Maybe they'll sing that on the final. Maybe, definitely not. They'll go for Rafa. They'll go for Tsitsipas. Most crowds don't side with Djokovic most of the time. And this is a big part of the issue, but we'll get to that in due time. Go back in history. Djokovic at the U.S. Open, I think it's 2007. Is this the year? Andy Roddick says he's got the bird flu, the swine flu, ankle, shoulder, meningitis. He says a bunch of stuff. The media people laugh at Djokovic. Djokovic takes this very personally. You got to remember, those guys were, joking around doing Arthur Ashe Kids Day, and he thought, hey, I thought we're friends. Thought we're homies. By the way, I should probably credit Crunch Time Coaching Peter Freeman, tennis teaching guru and genius, who's been putting really funny comments in the comment section down below. Look for Crunch Time Coaching. Everything he says is hilarious. He likes it when I'm sick on a podcast. He says it's like listening to NPR. It's pretty darn funny. Anyways, me and him had a talk about this one time, and some of the stuff I'm about to say are some things that he said to me. I was aware of these things, but he made me see. Pete's been a big fan of Djoker for a long time. He made me see the legitimate argument here. And, like I said, I remember this stuff happening, but Pete's right. Let's really take a close look at that to understand Djokovic today. 2007. Djokovic doing these impressions. He does Maria Sharapova's service motion. He bobbles up and down and pretends to be a big, tall girl like Maria Sharapova. Same height as me, actually. And it's funny, and people like Djokovic. People like Djokovic. He's likable. He's not upsetting the apple cart with the Roger Rafa show totally yet. He's shown that he can do it. Am I right on the years? Was this 2008, actually? He's already won a major? Doesn't matter. 07 or 08, we either know he could win a major. I think 07 was when he goes to the final. That's right. My bad. Federer whips him in the 07 final. 08, he wins the Aussie Open. 2008, Federer doesn't win any majors until the U.S. Open. Beats Murray down. Makes the Fed head so happy. God, we hated Murray back then. Hated him. Hated the guy. Loved him when he never beat Federer in a final of a slam ever again. Ain't that the truth? So 2008, I believe it's the semifinal. No, it must be quarterfinal. Whatever it was. Andy Roddick takes out Djokovic. No. My bad. I'm such a ding-dong. I'm sorry, guys. This was 07. Because en route to the final, this happens. This must be the semi where Djokovic takes out Roddick. And he's really upset from the way the media has been treating him. On the on-court interview, the guy asking the questions, can't remember his name. I can't remember what station this was on. Was this USA or some station like that? Doesn't matter. The guy asks him a couple questions that are, I don't want to say D-bag moves, but a little bit in that direction. Peter Freeman certainly thought so. And he's got good reason to. And Djokovic says, God, I wish I could remember exactly. I could show you the clip if I had the time. We'll talk about it another day, and we'll say exactly what Djokovic said. But Djokovic basically says to the crowd at the U.S. Open, keep in mind, this is the biggest tennis stadium in the world. This is a massive crowd. And Djokovic is like, how do you like me now? I beat Roddick. I don't look too injured now, do I? I don't have the bird flu now, do I, Roddick? And they're like booing him. And Joker's like, you know what, screw you guys. And then shortly after this, Djokovic does not do the serve imitations of other players anymore. No more fun stuff. Do not sign me up for Arthur Ashe Kids Day. I'm here to take over the sport. And he doesn't win that one, but I think he the next year, no, because 08 is... No, 07 is when Roddick gets completely humiliated by Federer in the semifinals of the Aussie Open. Is 08 where Djokovic sticks it to Roddick in a semi? No, because he beats Federer in the semi. And then he beats Tsonga. Doesn't matter. Djokovic wins the Australian Open and starts trying to take over the sport. Goes through the racket change. That sets him back a little bit. Don't change your racket. Come on, guys. It's dumb. Once you find what you like, stick with it. Unless you get a 90-inch racket frame and you got to consider going bigger like Roger. And what else happened to Djokovic? Trouble with the serve motion. He was double faulting more than he was acing, which was like an oddity in the top 10, or he's top 5, top 3 at that point. Anyway, so that was a big part in Joker's history on tour. Look at this, 34 minutes. Great job at shortening things up. A couple more things about this, and talk a little bit about tomorrow when we get out of here. And I have a funny story. I'll do that if we have time. Anyways, so that's a big part of the Djokovic story. And Kyrgios said Djokovic wants to be loved and liked, and it's a sick obsession. I don't think it's that. I think what it is Djokovic did all these things, winning all these majors, that all Rafa and Roger won, and Roger and Rafa are beloved. And Djokovic was already feeling the love from the tennis crowds everywhere he went worldwide. And then after that incident with Roddick, he really felt betrayed by these people, and his heart hardened to them for some time. And then after winning tons of majors, he never won the same level of love. And of course, this goes back to my Djokovic theorem, a video I made a couple years ago. He never got the love and just didn't understand it. It just doesn't make sense. It's not that he has a sick obsession. It's that, come on, Kyrgios, how about you win 14 majors and everyone hates your guts? How are you going to feel? 12, I think, was it 12 when Djoker hit the slump? Yes. How about you win 12? You get the double digits. Just get the 10. And everyone, for the most part, seems to not like you. You tend to get rooted against everywhere you go in the world. Not just against Roger and Rafa, but against freaking nobodies. And Djoker knows it's not always. It's funny, if you're new to the show, you're thinking like, geez, this guy really likes Djokovic. No, that's not the case here. Oh my God, if someone's new and they're like, this guy's Djoker biased. But Djoker's got good reason. He knows deep down that, yeah, sometimes the crowd, they cheer for an extra set. So you're winning, they cheer for your opponent to win a set so the match goes longer because they want to be entertained. He gets it, but he knows a lot of times it's not that. They're just cheering against him because he's the guy that everybody loves to hate. And it doesn't make sense, and it would make you crazy, whether you're Kyrgios or you're me or you're anybody. If you accomplished what Djokovic accomplished and people still freaking hate you, you might have to go to an insane asylum. And you know what? Nick Kyrgios might have to go anyways. But it's a joke. Just kidding, Nick. Seriously, though, if you accomplish all that, you might lose your darn mind as well. Darn tootin'. We're not no cursing. This is a family show. Coffee Break Tennis. Okay. Anyways, about stats. If you look at the stats, I'll flop them and pop them up on the screen. I believe, off the top of my head, the first set, Djokovic, 5 winners on the forehand and the backhand. More unforced errors on the forehand, maybe something like 9-7. Pretty even. I did not feel like Del Potro targeted the Djokovic forehand enough. And even though there were more errors from the backhand, I think that's because, and I don't have the numbers to say this for sure, but it seemed like traffic was directed more at the backhand of Djoker than the forehand. I think Delpo would have seen more unforced errors, and Djoker would have had a harder time finding his best tennis and may not have done it in time to save match points and ultimately win the match. So I could be wrong on this theory. I think if Del Potro would have directed more traffic at the Djoker forehand, we would have seen more errors. We did see some key errors and key moments in that first set come from the Djokovic forehand. I'm telling you, the thing falls apart more often than the backhand. Now, that doesn't guarantee it's always going to happen, but it could and it should happen. So if I was playing him, I would try to direct more traffic over there. Honestly, Del Potro was hitting the ball so freaking hard that it came down to me. And by the way, by the end of the match, Djokovic really got the forehand going. So, you know, it's not always going to work. I'm just saying, odds are. It's a numbers game. There's a reason why, you know, Federer approaches to the backhand when he comes to net most of the time. You're just, the numbers will show the percentage, the likelihood that you will get a ball that is easier to win off of or do something with, they go up when you target the weaker side. And sometimes guys are so used to playing righties and aiming for their backhands that it's hard to start going after a guy who's a lefty. So you got to go to the forehand corner of a righty to hit a lefty's backhand or to target a righty's forehand because you think it's a better play than going after the backhand. And, you know, some players are just stubborn. They want to break down your best shot sometimes. Like when Federer lost to Del Potro in Indian Wells. Federer kept going to the Delpo forehand, thinking like, hey, I have a great forehand too. If it's Fed forehand to Delpo forehand, I'm going to win it because I'm Roger Federer. A little bit of that happened in the 2009 U.S. Open final. Some mistakes we never learned from. Don't break down. And you know, another thing is, though, Del Potro's two-hand backhand looks so good. Maybe taking time off, giving the wrist a little extra rest, and it's been better and better, don't get me wrong. But maybe another extended break where he could just I'm sure he was doing some exercises to keep the wrists strong, the forearms strong. So maybe that helped a little because the two-hand backhand looked great. Backhand up the line, always a key with Rafa and Djoker. These guys can weather the storm so well. It's funny that they both played guys who bring a tremendous amount of firepower and reckless abandon type hitting, and were able to hang in there. And then once they got their games feeling good, they just jumped all over them, especially Rafa, who, come on, is he going to give out more bagels? This is going to be the bagel tournament. Rome's going to have to ditch the pasta and switch over to bagels after what Rafa could potentially. Imagine if he gives a bagel to everyone and wins the tournament. That would be something. All right, so that's done. Tomorrow, Shorty D. Djokovic already played the biggest man in Argentina, who's a pro tennis player. Now he'll play the smallest man from Argentina, who's a pro tennis player. Shorty D, inspired to beat Nishikori, the best he's been playing in a while. Will it be a Djokovic win? You'd be crazy to bet against Djokovic. And Djokovic looks like he's feeling good, feeling great. Tsitsipas, Nadal, that is a question mark. That is a mystery. I will not be shocked if Nadal brings a new level and jumps all over him and wins that match. I think Tsitsipas benefits from the walkover with Federer today, getting more rest. The rain, he's played a lot. His confidence is high. He might have been a little drained. Probably not an issue now because he's had these extra days of rest. I'm expecting a tough battle. I think Tsitsipas is the real deal. Let me read what Rafa said really quick, then I'll tell you my story about Lighter Thief, who is one of our Patreons. If you're like, Matt, I hate this. Why are you doing these podcasts? I want to see the videos. That's more fun. Go to patreon.com/coffeebreaktennis. The link is in the description down below. Become a Patreon subscriber. Help make Coffee Break Tennis the biggest thing in the tennis world. And you will have a stronger say-so. Lighter Thief is one of our patrons, our patron saints of Coffee Break Tennis. And he just, he popped up on my Twitter feed today, and every time I see his name, I laugh, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But first, this is what Rafa said. Every year, we make a prediction with the team, which player is going to be at the top 10 at the end of the seasons. I put Tsitsipas there. He started even better than what Oh, Rafa did. Well, that is a major thing. That's a story. I put Tsitsipas there. He started even better than what I expected. He deserves to be where he is now. And kudos to Nadal. Do I know my tennis or what? Because I put him there last year, or at the start of this year, just as well. I was impressed enough last year. His run in Canada, very impressive. Some of his matches on the clay. I think Shapo had some nice matches on clay last year as well. But, I was excited about Shapo very early on, but it didn't take a lot of it for me to see, okay, he's got some stuff to work through. Fun, exciting talent, but we've seen a lot of those over the years. Tsitsipas was different. Always was different for me. You'll remember if you're a big fan of the show. All right, my Lighter Thief story, then we'll go home. I am home. You get my point. All right, so every time I see Lighter Thief's name on Twitter or in the comment section below, I always laugh because I was a Lighter Thief in college. So the funny thing is, I have a band. I've always played in bands since I was in middle school. One of my first jobs in high school when I was 16, 17, I think I was 17 actually, was I worked at a venue where local bands would come play music and I would help. I was assistant to the sound guy, kind of lame. And all these bands would come in from all over the country. Some of these bands would have decent followings. Hundreds of kids would show up to see these bands that people knew from California. They weren't super famous or anything, but they could show up in Atlanta and draw hundreds of teenagers. Okay, so, and they were older, a lot of times they'd be in their 20s and they would smoke cigarettes. So I started smoking cigarettes. I was all about rock and roll, smoking in the boys' room. By the way, this is a family show. If you play tennis, for the love of God, do not smoke cigarettes. It's not going to help you. It's not the 60s anymore. So, I used to smoke cigarettes all the way through college. The reason why I quit was because of tennis. I knew I didn't have the strokes to play a Federer or somebody that I really admired and play the tennis way I wanted to, so I tried to play like Rafa. Not that I thought I was as good as Rafa, but I knew I can have the attitude of Rafa where I never give up on a single ball and run until I feel like I'm going to die so I can try to defeat you no matter how much better you are at hitting the ball than I am. I'm not going to give up on a point. And that was a lot of fun. But, yeah, so I kind of realized at one point, like, okay, smoking cigarettes and running all over and loving tennis, these things don't really go together too well, so I quit. But anyways, back in college, though, still young enough to smoke and play tennis and not notice it too much. And at parties, you would see, I don't want to sound like a terrible person, but you'd always, you'd hear some girl at a party be like, oh my God, where's my lighter? I lost my lighter. Or some guy be like, I lose lighters all the time. Oh man, this is the 5th one I bought this week. Right? People are always misplacing their lighters. It's like they're going to lose it anyways. So if you see a lighter on a coffee table at a giant party with like 100 drunk 21-year-olds, maybe some people who aren't of age are there at these college parties. I don't know. It was a long time ago. I was a young man. I mean, I was doing this when I was like 19 and 20 and 21 and 22. Anyway, so I smoked the cigarettes. I appreciated having lighters. I would run out of lighter fluid and have to throw them away and spend money, which I didn't have much of. So I came to this attitude where I was like, you know what? There's so many ding-dongs at these parties getting hammered, getting totally wasted, and losing their lighters that a nice guy like me who's going to end up giving, like I was like the Robin Hood of lighters. I'm going to pocket these lighters. And at one point I had like 20 lighters. But I'm going to be like Robin Hood and give them to people who I meet, who are nice people at these parties or in college. And I will give them a lighter like Robin Hood. So there you go. Is it a very funny story? I sure thought it was. I thought I'd share it with you when I saw it. Every time I see lighter thief's name anywhere, I think about how I used to do that. And then I think somebody I was dating was like, no, that's not cool. That's terrible. You're like a bad person. Don't do that. And I was like, oh, snap. Okay, maybe being Robin Hood's not always a good thing. So I quit being a lighter thief. Anyways, I'm curious if Lighter Thief has a story like that himself. Comment below, Lighter Thief, if you're listening. I would really love to know where you came up with that name, because every time I see it, it makes me think about going to parties when I was 19, and makes me very happy. Puts a big smile on my face. All right, that's it. Hit the music. We're going to get out of here. Again, if you hate these podcasts, or you want, Matt, put these podcasts are great, but don't put them on YouTube because you can't close the phone window. You can't turn off the phone and listen to it in passive mode or whatever you call it. Put it on iTunes, Apple iTunes, or the other thing. Comment below. What's the other thing called? Because I want to do this one day, but I don't have the time and the resources to do it yet. So go to patreon.com/coffeebreaktennis. Link down below in the description. You can become part of the Coffee Break Tennis team. You can help grow the show into the biggest thing that ever happened in tennis. Either way, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Really enjoy the matches tomorrow. I have a feeling Shorty D will make it fun enough to make it worth watching. So please watch Shorty D. He's a fun little character. And of course, do not miss Tsitsipas and Rafa. And we'll probably be back maybe with a podcast tomorrow because we get that big gig I was telling you about tomorrow for the band. So it's kind of up in the air. Might be a podcast tomorrow. Otherwise, we shall see you on Monday in a full video. See ya!